Hi.
How you doing, Lisa?
Good.
How many people are actually on?
Right now, just the two of us. It's been about maybe 5 or 6. There's Emily and Teresa. Say hi, ladies. Yeah. I have you over there, so you have to be on the television if you don't want.
That's fine by me.
But when I'm not here, I need to see it. And it's just easier for me to kind of have everything spread out, and that way you guys will have enough room over there. All right. I'm going to kind of wait for everyone to join us. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent.
Can you hear me? Because I'm having like delayed.
Yes, you are. Your picture is very pixelated and wavy, and but I can hear you.
Okay, as long as you can hear me.
Yes. So, if I remember correctly, I gave you assignments from chapter 3 through chapter 8 in the workbook to complete, and then to read 9, 10, and 11 for this coming week. So we'll probably go over some of the answers in the workbook. So what I do say to people is, if you didn't do it, take a separate sheet of paper and write the answers out so that you have them, and then you can go back and do your answers and then have something to check it. It just makes it easier. So 15 million people are emailing me saying, what were the answers for that?
I like having a workbook better than how we did it in the terminology. Assignments were in the book. We were just supposed to write them on a piece of paper.
Hi, Gardner.
Hey.
All right. Oh, pre-Halloween. Halloween Eve. Interesting. All right, remind me, who is in Gardner?
Angel.
Angel, thank you very much.
I also will have to leave by 7:30.
Okay, so whatever you miss will be on the recorded lecture, and I'll just, as soon as I have it converted, just send me a reminder email that says, please send me that.
And I'm not able to get on to even do my exam. And I called Amy today on that. And
Well,
it's like, it doesn't have the class underneath it. It has my medical terminology under the evolve, but it doesn't have the medical billing and coding.
Right, because we're not in the Buck book yet. We're only in the Fordney book. And I'm still working on the Fordney exams. The Fordney exams are not going to be large exams because they're going to coincide with what we're doing in the Buck book. So when we get into the Buck book, I'm actually going to have you take the Fordney exam and the Buck exam together.
Okay.
I want to do that instead. So right now we're doing all book work,
Okay, that's
classroom
good.
work. And then when we get into the buck book, my thought process with the Fordney book is we're doing a lot of the paperwork, which is really the bulk of billing. So when I give you the exam, it's going to be a small exam, like 10 or 20 questions. And because it's a new course on Evolve, I'm still playing with it to make sure it's going to work the way I want it to for you guys. I don't want to be called 10 million different times because it's messed up. So that's why you don't have it on Evolve yet. I did sign up some students and I just didn't get through the whole list. So if you have the access, there's nothing you can do with it right now, and if you don't have access, you will have access by the weekend. But there's nothing for you to do with it, honestly.
Okay.
There's nothing to do with Fordney. And when we start with the buck book, I will then add the buck course. What happens is, what I have learned from past experience is that if you have the buck and the billing book course on Evolve, you start looking through everything and you get overwhelmed. And you start freaking out. I'd rather we freak out in phases, not all at once, okay? So that's why I do it that way.
At what point should we expect all the books?
I actually sent an email to Amy yesterday and to Elsevier. Because they don't publish until the end of October, you should be expecting your ICD-9 and HCPCS anytime within the next 2 weeks. And if you're missing anything else beyond that, you have to send me a reminder email.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I have not heard back yet what the status is. So who's in the dark that I can hear but can't see?
Me, Lisa.
Okay. All right, so no one else is with us yet, like Darla, Christina, Barb, and I know Lisa's absent. All right. So yes, Lisa, you're frozen. Your picture's frozen, but I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. So as other people join us, then they'll have to pick up where we are. So it is week 3. You survived to week 3. Excellent. I thought what I would like to do is just go over some answers in the chapters tonight. We started with the workbook on page 26. We did some fill in the blanks. So turn to your workbook, your Fordney workbook, page 26. And we'll start with some of the fill in the blanks. All right, so number 1. What is a legally enforceable agreement or contract?
Policy.
It could be a policy or an insurance contract. Correct. Number 2, an individual promising to pay for medical services rendered is known as the guarantor. Okay? Now, on number 3, we have 5 health insurance policy renewable provisions. And those are cancelable, optionally renewable, conditionally renewable, guaranteed renewable, and non-cancelable. Insurance reimbursement or payment is also called what? Anybody? Indemnity. Yes, indemnity. And we have 2 general health insurance policy limitations. They are either exclusions or a waiver or a rider. Number 6, 26 years old. 27, the act of determining whether treatment is covered under an individual's health insurance policy is called what, Angel?
Pre-certification.
Yes, pre-certification.
Was that 7?
Number 7, yes. Pre-certification. Now, sometimes we get it confused with pre-authorization,
Which I did the first time.
which number 8 is pre-authorization. So the act of determining whether treatment is covered underneath an individual's health insurance policy is called pre-certification. So basically what we're doing is we're calling the insurance company and we're asking if this is covered under their plan, and if so, does it need to be pre-certified? Usually those are insurances, surgeries. Okay? Now, the procedure to obtain permission for a procedure before it is done to determine whether the insurance program agrees it is medically necessary is termed pre-authorization. Okay, so pre-certification is similar to insurance verification. We're calling the insurance, we're asking if the treatment is covered under their plan. So when we hear insurance verification and pre-certification, it's used interchangeably, okay? When we're truly know they're having a procedure and we want to know if it's going to be covered, it's a pre-authorization. Number 9, determining the maximum dollar amount the insurance company will pay for a procedure before it is done is known as a predetermination. So you're coming in for a foot surgery and you want to know how much the insurance will cover, so you will know what is your responsibility. We would call ahead of time and find out what is the predetermined coverage. All right. Name 2 ways an individual may obtain health insurance. What is one way, Emily?
By taking out insurance through a group plan.
Yes, taking out insurance through a group plan. What other things do you think of, Teresa?
Pay the premium on an individual basis.
Yes, pay the premium on an individual basis and enroll in a prepaid health plan. So there are 4 methods that a physician's practice may use to submit insurance claim forms to the insurance companies. What do you have for that one, Lisa?
SAMS 1500.
Yep.
With an outside biller.
Okay.
Contracting with an outside biller and
Yep.
direct data entry.
Yes. And then submitting claims electronically in your office. Number 12, a document signed by the insured directing the insurance company to pay benefits directly to the physician is known as the assignment of benefits. So we mentioned this a little bit, probably in the first class that we were talking about. When you see a provider, they have you sign some forms when you first come into office. And part of that is an assignment of benefits. I authorize my insurance company to pay directly to the provider, and the patient signs it. Number 13, did we go that far? Yes. Okay, 13, a patient service slip personalized to the practice of the physician and used as a communication and billing tool during routing of the patient is also known as. It could be an encounter form, it can be a transaction slip, a charge slip, a fee ticket, a routing form, or multi-purpose billing form. a patient service slip or a super bill. I normally refer to it as a super bill or a travel card. Basically what that means is it follows the path of the patient from the time they start in the practice to the time that they leave the practice. So they sign in on it, it goes with them to the treatment room, the doctor fills out their portion, it goes back to the front desk, the charges get entered into the system. That's basically what that means. Number 14, electronic access to computer data. Computerized signatures may consist of the following verification or access methods. You could have a digitized signature, a series of letters, electronic writing, you could use voice, fingerprint transmission, a computer key, and a button pin, a biometric, or a token. A method of making an automatic deposit of funds from the payer into the provider's bank account and used in place of mailed paper check is referred to what, as Emily?
An electric funds transfer?
Yes, an electronic funds transfer or an EFT. Okay, so then we have mix and match. So mix and match, the first one you should have D, coordination of benefits. And then the second one is G. Third one is B. Then we have K, A, H, E, J, F, C, and I. So I'll repeat those again, mix and match. You should have D, G, B, K, A, H, E, J, F, C, I. All right, and then we did page 28, multiple choice. Number 17 was C, implied contract. Number 18 was eligibility verification. Number 19, optionally renewable. 20, coordination of benefits. 21, all of the above. And 22, 30 days from the date of service to 1.5 years. Now, that does not mean that the first time you submit a claim is 1.5 years later. You still have timely filing that you should be submitting that claim for the first time. It should be submitted within 90 days. It's after that, if you have a denial or a rejection to follow up on, you have that time frame. But you have to know what the payer's requirements are. And you know that by reading your contracts and looking up at the information. All right, true and false. 23. What do you have for 23, Lisa?
False.
False. 23 is false. 24, Angel.
True.
Yes, 24 is true. 25, Emily.
I have false.
25 is actually true. It's fine. And 26, so you want to take a stab?
Who?
That's false.
Yes, 26 is false. And 27, a signature stamp is acceptable by all insurances as proof of the provider's signature on a CMS claim form. That is false. False, false, false. Do not use a stamp on a claim form. All right. Then we moved over to page 33, where the assignment was to abstract data from an insurance identification card. So, the card, number 1, The name of the patient that is covered by the policy is who, Angel?
The person that has the card, I wrote my son, Alexander LaBelle.
Yes,
I just
Linda
used.
L. Name of the patient covered by the policy. If you look in the book on page 33, it's going to be Linda Field, Linda L. Field.
Oh, I thought they wanted us to do our samples.
And then number 2, provide the insurance policy's effective date. You should have 5/1/95 because it says right there, effective date, 5/1/95. Then list the telephone number for pre-authorization, and it shows you that right on the back of the card. Over on the right-hand side for pre-authorization or pre-service review, 1-800-274-7767. It even gives you the address to send the insurance claims if you had to send them on paper. Then it asks you to list the telephone number to call for the provider access, which in this case is 1-800-810-BLUE. The name of the type of insurance plan is a PPO. It's a prudent buyer plan. And the insurance identification number is the XDS 564009044. Now I can tell you most of your Anthem plans have 12 to 13 characters, and it's usually alphanumeric with a three alpha prefix. Furnishing the group number is C54G28, and the plan or coverage code is 5031B. Here they're telling you that the copay for an office visit is $20, and it says, does the card indicate the patient has hospital coverage? Yes, is inferred by wording on the back of the card. So these are all the different types of things that you would be looking for as a biller to enter that information into your practice management or your EHR software, because all of this information is how we get the claims to go out the door and get the money to come back. All right, 34. Same thing, we were taking information from the insurance ID card. So the name of the patient that's covered by this policy is who, Emily?
MT Fordham.
Yes, MT Fordham. And what is the insurance policy's effective date, Lisa?
Whoops, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
We're on page 34 and 35.
Right, it's 0101-2000 XX.
Yes. And
I
what is
was looking at the wrong thing.
That's all right. What is the telephone number for pre-authorization, Angel?
1-800-333-1691.
Yes. And it's very tricky because some of these cards, as you just saw in the previous exercise, they spelled it out for you. They had it nice and laid out. Whereas in this one, you have to go searching for it. And what I do when I make a copy of these insurance cards, I will go and I'll circle my information so that I have it right and ready. All right, what's the name of the insurance company, Teresa?
Blue Shield of California.
Yes. And the telephone number to call for patient benefits and eligibility is 2001. It is a preferred plan, so it's a PPO. The ID number is AJC 557-469-969. The group number is 00P1901, and the plan or coverage code is 542. There's none listed for copay requirement, and the website is listed as blueshieldofca.com. Now, you would want to call and verify the benefits. What is the copay? What is the co-insurance? All right, and that is it for chapter 3. Let's move on. Page 40 in your workbook, more fill in the blank. Chapter 4 was about medical record documentation and electronic health record. Written or graphic information about patient care is usually termed as what, Angel?
The one I didn't. I've got the next one.
Okay,
I didn't.
it's the health record. It's usually as a health record. Okay, list 3 of the various types of health record systems that can be used in a medical practice. We have the problem-oriented, we have the source-oriented, and an integrated record system. Number 3, you should have 2. The first one is EMR, and the second is EHR. So the difference between the two is in the electronic medical record, it is the individual physician's record of the patient's care, where the electronic health record is of all the patient's records from many different information systems and providers. And you actually will see that those two are actually being used interchangeably. Because you think about it, you think of electronic medical record, you think, well, it's just everything. And it can be everything. I think until they decide to keep one or the other and not worry about which one we're going to use, then you're going to hear the two interchangeably. On number 4, the answer is accessibility. Number 5 is 2.0. Number 6 is advanced clinical processes. Number 7, the definition of legible documentation. What is the definition, Emily?
States that the medical record should be complete and legible.
Yes, it needs to be recognizable by someone outside of the practice who is unfamiliar with the handwriting. So I should be able to walk in and be able to read any handwritten note the doctor makes. Number 8 is medical necessity. Number 9, walk-in rights. Number 10, signature log. And number 11, if there's an error with the date and time, you would correct the information with a notation and why and when the physician changed the entry, and then authenticate the correction via electronic signature and date. Now, if you're still doing handwritten stuff, you want to put a line through it, put your initials, correct it, date it, and initial it. So I just answered number 12. Never use eraser or whiteout.
What was number 8? Sorry.
8 is medical necessity.
Thank you.
What was it? And it's something necessity.
Medical necessity. Number 13, fines and penalties is the first answer. and excluded from the program is the second answer. So number 13, the first answer is fines and penalties, and the second answer is excluded from the program. Did I have you do 14 through
No.
23? Okay.
No,
So
that's
currently,
26.
we go to 26. 26 is mix and match. I think I had to do 26 through 32.
Yes.
Okay, 26. The first one is I. The second one is D, as in David. And we have A, B, F, E, H, C, and G. So I will repeat those. I, D, A, B, F, E, H, C, and G. That was number 26 on page 42. All right, 27 through 32. 27, you should have electronic health record system. 28, you should have MPFS. 28 is number, 28 is letter B, MPFS.
I had MU. What is the difference?
MU is meaningful use.
I wonder. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. 29 is stage 1. 30 is subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. So 30 is B. 31 is D, objective. And 32 is D, point system. Do I need to repeat any of those? Okay. 33 is A, which is CC for chief complaint. 34 is C for comorbidity. And 35 is D, all of the above. Then we go into true and false. 36 is false. 37 is true. 38 is false. 39 is true. 40 is false. 41 is true. 42 is false. 43 is true. 44 is true. And 45 is false. I'll repeat those. 36 is false. 37 is true. 38 is false. 39 is true. 40 is false. 41 is true. 42 is false. 43 is true. 44 is true. And 45 is false. All right. Now, I didn't have you go over how to mail stuff. That's pretty self-explanatory. If you don't know what to do, by now. Let me just check and make sure their other students didn't try to copy them. what told me they weren't coming tonight. Okay. I think that's it for 4. Now let's do 5, chapter 5, page 61 in the workbook. Fill in the blanks. Now, number 1, what do you have, Emily?
Physician fee profile.
Yes, physician fee profile. Number 2, Lisa.
Primary and principal.
Yes, primary and principal. Now, when we get into the Buck book, this will be talked about just a little bit more, where the primary and principal are used interchangeably as well. In the hospital inpatient setting, they use strictly principal. But you'll notice in the outpatient setting, the doctors will say principal diagnosis, primary diagnosis. It really doesn't matter. Just keep that in mind. Number 3, what do you think is number 3, Angel?
Medical necessity.
Yes, medical necessity. It almost reminds me of level of specificity. Number 4 is October 1st, 2014. And number 5, Teresa, you want to take a stab at number 5? Okay.
I should know this. I'm sorry.
International Classification of Diseases, 10th revision, clinical modification.
Put addition, that would make it wrong. You should always use revision, not addition.
Revision, yes.
Oh. Or it isn't.
Yes. Because think about it, it's been revised. Okay. So number 6 is World Health Organization, or WHO. Number 7 is greater.
Can you say that again?
Number 7 is greater.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Number 8, Emily.
I didn't get 8 through 11.
Okay. 8 is volume 3. And that's okay. Some of these, if you didn't get them, I'm not too worried about it, because once we get the book, you'll get it. You'll understand it. We just didn't have the book. Number 9 is HIPAA. 10 is alphabetic. And 11 is tabular or numerical. So again, I will be going over this in depth when we get into the Buck book. Okay? Because we will have our books and we'll be able to go through them. Number 12, X. The answer is X. X is used as a placeholder. 13, rules or principles. 14, not elsewhere classifiable. 15, brackets. 16 is default. 17, alphabet index and tabular list. So 17 is alphabet index and tabular list. '18 is use additional code.
I have to not be in the right place.
18 is use additional code. 19 is sequela. 20 is 2. Number 2, the character 2. 21, malignant, benign, uncertain behavior, and unspecified. Number Number 22 would be pancreas. And number 23 would be 024. And I don't think I really gave you those to do. I just gave you
No.
one.
That was one.
Yeah, I just kept going. All right, but let's look at, let's do the true and false first. True and false. I didn't give you multiple choice or fill it. Let's do the true and false.
64, right?
Page 64, yes. True or false. Okay, 51. 51 should be false. 52, false. Page 64, number 51 is false. 52 and 53 are false. 54, true. 55, false. 56 through 59 are all true. 60 is true. 61 is false. And 62 is true. I will repeat those. 51 through 53 are false. 54 is true. 55 is false. 56 through 59 true. 60 true. 61 false. And 62 true. Turn the page to 66 in your workbook. Now let's just take a look at that figure 5-1. That is an example of what your ICD-9 book looks like. A page or column out of your ICD-9 book. We will go into these in further detail, but you end up with the stuff in bold being your main term. And then you have the indented, which is your subterms and your subdiagnoses. So we will get into those further. If you turn the page to 69, that is another example of your ICD-9 book and how the inflammatory diseases of the central nervous system look. Just a page out of that. And turn over to page 70 in your workbook, and that's pretty much what a page looks like out of your ICD-9 book. For those of you who have your ICD-9, you've probably looked at it and you have an idea of what it looks like. We didn't do a lot in 5 because we're going to go into more depth when we get into the book. Let's move on to chapter 6, and we're going to go to page 83. Everyone has colds right now.
Sorry, I've tried not to cough.
That's okay. That's why you're over there. I'm over here. I've been using the Germex.
Oh, yeah.
Taking the emergency.
Mm-hmm. I just tried that for the first time actually. Yes, I'd never had it before.
Yeah.
The raspberry one.
Emergency and airborne. If you're starting to really feel airborne is very similar to the emergency. The other things that you can do when you're starting to feel a little under the weather or you know when you're going to be stressed, you double up on some vitamin D. Vitamin D, you can take 1,000 IUs a day. And it doesn't hurt you. It just helps boost your immune system. And you can usually do that for about a week and then cut back to, one tablet, one capsule, whatever, wherever you get them, just to keep on that regimen. And then vitamin C, you can find zinc lozenges that you can just, take as you need them. But the emergency and the airborne are really good. if you're starting to feel a little under the weather. Zicam.
Yep.
If you've heard of Zicam. Okay. All right. So 83, fill in the blank. Chapter 6 was about procedural coding. Okay. So the coding system that is used for billing professional medical services and procedures is found in a book titled Current Procedural Terminology, otherwise known as your CPT book. Most of you should have a CPT book. I'm jealous because I still don't have mine yet. Then the second one, the answer to number 2 is Healthcare Common Procedure Coding System, otherwise known as HCPCS, just the way it looks, HCPCS. Number 3 is modifier. 4 is unit values. For number 5, the 3 methods are fee schedule, relative value schedule, and UCR. So the 3 methods for number 5 are fee schedule, relative value schedule, and UCR, usual, customary, and reasonable. And Teresa, afterwards, if you want, I'll just give you this and you can write it down. Number 6, the 4 situations that can occur in a medical practice when referring to charges and payments from a fee schedule. Give me one, Lisa.
Medicare paid by a fiscal agreement.
Yes. Give me another one, Angel.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Providers rendering services to patients who have sustained industrial injuries use a separate workers' compensation fee schedule. That's one. Second one, providers that have a contractual arrangement with a managed care plan would be paid based on the fee schedule written into the negotiated contract. The third one, providers not participating in the Medicare program would typically be paid by the fiscal agent in amount based on limiting charges for each service set by the Medicare program. And the fourth one, as Lisa mentioned, providers participating in the Medicare program would typically be paid by the fiscal agent in amount from a fee schedule for Medicare patients. And they should all be in your Fordney book. Most often your answers are right out of the book. And then number 7, we had 6 sections of the category 1 in the CPT book. The first one is, Emily?
Evaluation and management.
Yes, evaluation and management. Angel? Second one?
I miss this whole page.
Anesthesia. Lisa?
So I was
I skipped that whole question.
I missed the whole
Okay,
page.
okay,
It was
so
hard to find.
number 7 is A is evaluation and management.
Yeah.
B is anesthesia. C is surgery. D is radiology, nuclear medicine, and diagnostic ultrasound. E is pathology and lab. And F is medicine.
I don't have to write them down. I know I can find these.
Okay, okay.
I just haven't done it.
That's all right.
I'm not gonna cheat, I'm not gonna write it down. I have a few key words, so I'll know what
Okay.
the phrases are.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Chapter 7.
All right, we're not going to do the paper claim because we're going to get into the paper claim later, and I'd rather actually go over the paper claim as we are going to do one for an exercise. So, forget chapter 7 right now. I'm going to flag it so that we come back to it, and we're going to do it at an actual exercise.
Before you go ahead, can you do the answers to page 86?
One moment. Yes. Oh, did I forget those?
Yeah, I have it circled.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I missed that.
22.
How did I forget that? Okay, so number 22 on page 86 is the letter D, level 2 HCPCS National Code. 23 is A, usual, customary, and reasonable UCR. 24 is B, 10 or 90 days. 25 is unbundling. 26 is modifier 62. And then the true and false, we have true, true, false, true, false. So, true and false, number 27 is true. 28 is true. 29 is false. 30 is true. 31 is false. Number 7, do an actual exercise. So let's move on to chapter 8, which is electronic claims. All right, start on page 135. We have fill in the blank. Did you do any honey and lemon?
No, I had honey. I had green tea before I came here to kind of not sweat.
Honey and lemon.
Together?
Yep, just mix it all together. All right. Page 135, chapter 8, fill in the blank. Number 1 is EDI, electronic data interchange. Number 2 is encryption. Number 3 is 2 weeks or less. Number 4 is direct link. Now, number 5, it says that you are to refer to table 8.1 in the handbook to list the benefits of using HIPAA standard transactions and code sets. So, table 8.1 in your handbook, what page is that on? Do we have a page?
267.
Thank you. So, the benefits of a HIPAA standard transaction is that we have more reliable and timely processing, so we get quicker reimbursement from the payer. We have improved accuracy of data, easier and more efficient access to information, better tracking of transactions, reduction of data entry and manual labor, and reduction in office expenses. Number 6, yes, the answer is yes. Number 7, the answer is no. All right, 8, current procedural terminology code set. For A, B is International Classification of Diseases, 10th edition, Clinical Modification, volumes 1 and 2. And C, national drug codes for retail pharmacy transactions. All right. Number 9, A, you should have ASC X12N 837P. Now remember I told you first 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, you don't need to know this type of stuff. You don't. But it's good to have heard it so that if someone starts talking about the electronic data and the loops, and you can say, oh yeah, I learned about that in class, but it goes over my head. So thanks anyway. And then B is ASC X12N 837I. That's all I gave you on that page. Let's go over to page 137, the multiple choice. All right, what do you have for 30, Lisa?
D.
Yes, D. What do you have for 31, Angel?
B.
Today, most claims are submitted by means of D, EDI. 32, Emily?
A.
Yes, A. 33 is A. 34 is C. 35 is D. And 36 is C. 37 D. 38 D. 39 C. 40 D. 41 C. 42 D. And 43 B. I didn't give you true and false.
Is that it?
I think that's it. But let's take a look at page 151 in your workbook. So what you see on page 151 is an example of a CMS 1500 form. Now, what I'll probably do when it's time to do an actual exercise, we'll come back to chapter 7 and we'll fill a few of these out together, okay? Basically, if you turn back a page to 149, you'll see the patient record. And from the patient record is where we pull the information to fill in what you see on page 151. So, I'll have to remember to get a whiteboard here. I think I can. I'll have to ask Dawn. So just to give you an idea, that's what it looks like when we pull information from a patient's report for a date of service and we put it onto a claim form. And we will go over box by box what we're going to fill in when it comes time to doing that exercise. Do you want to take a quick stretch break? You okay? All right. So open up your textbooks directly to chapter 9, and we'll start going over those. So 297 in your textbook. All right. Chapter 9 is all about receiving payments and insurance problem solving. So if you like to problem solve, not necessarily the mathematical kind, but if you like to problem solve, billing and coding is definitely a field for you to go into. And that's what I like about it, is the problem solving, the finding the solution to the problem kind of thing. And it is numbers, but it's not numbers in the manner that we think of everyday math. We still have to know what allowed amounts are and what the charges are and how to figure co-insurances and do that type of stuff. So there's still some math involved, but the problem solving is more about getting the claims paid. How do we get them paid? Why are they denied? What do we have to do? That type of stuff. So in this chapter, we're going to identify the 3 insurance payment policy provisions. We're going to indicate time limits for receiving payments for paper claims versus electronic claims. We will interpret and post some patient's explanation of benefits, or look at them at least, and then name some claim management techniques, as well as identifying the purposes of an insurance company payment history reference file, explaining some reasons for claim inquiries, defining the terminology that we use that's helpful to problem paper and electronic claim solutions, and then those solutions that I talked about, stating those solutions for the denied and the rejected paper and electronic claims. So on page 298, the claim policy provisions. Your claim policy provisions are going to differ by the insurance companies. So some examples that I can give you are where the subscriber must notify the insurance company of a loss within a period of time. So that would be someone who has had a personal injury, or someone who has had a work comp injury. Any type of injury should be reported to an insurance within a period of time. So that doesn't mean if you go to your chiropractor, it's an injury, or if you go to your primary care physician or the ear, nose, and throat. Any type of injury related has to be reported to your insurance. Some homeowners policies actually have riders on them to cover medical expenses for injuries that happen in the home. It could be someone has climbed up on the roof and fell off the ladder, or someone slipped on the icy walkway, those types of things, okay? If there happens to be a disagreement that occurs, you actually have 3 years after the claim was submitted for a suit to be taking place, an actual legal suit. If the insured person does not bring legal action against the insurance company until 60 days after a claim was submitted, there might be some issues with the timeliness of that being brought forward. Your payment time limits also vary by payer. 4 to 12 weeks usually for paper claims, and 7 days for electronic claims. Your managed care plans also vary in payment schedule. So I know right now that electronic claims, when I submit them to Anthem, I usually get payment back by probably 7 to 9 days electronically. My other commercial payers like Aetna, Harvard Pilgrim, health plans, usually anywhere between 7 and 14 days. And then some of the larger secondary, or not larger ones, but some of the other carriers and secondary payers anywhere between 30 and 45 days. So, you know, you have 2 to 4 weeks time frame. Medicare is not any sooner than 30 days, whether it is electronic or paper. Now they say that electronically that you get it quicker, but that's only if you sign up for electronic funds transfer. Now, what I will tell you about electronic funds transfer is if you go somewhere and they want you to sign up for EFT, be very careful and aware of the language that's in that agreement. What happens is once they have you sign up for EFT, if you have not read the fine print, what you have just done is you have authorized them to deposit money into your account, but you have also authorized them to take money out of your account in the event that there is any form of overpayment or discrepancy in a claim that requires some type of action. Not a good thing, especially if the bank account is tied to your overall operation of your business. No. So watch the language in those contracts. Your explanation of benefits. This basically states the status of a claim. Is it paid? Is it adjusted? Is it suspended or pending? Has it been rejected or denied? It will also state the allowed and the disallowed amounts. So if you look over on the next page on 300 for a minute, you'll see that's a really crude explanation of benefits, but it kind of gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. It will say who it's sending the money to, so who's receiving the money, the date, the check number, and the amount. And then if you look down below, explanation of benefits, it goes straight across and it gives you the date of service, the charged amount, the allowed amount, what they paid, what is the discount as being a participating provider, what is the patient responsibility, and then in the end, what did they pay you? Okay, so if they actually paid you, they indicate the payment. Now, if they didn't pay you, it would say over in the payment column 0. And then probably under subscriber's liability or patient responsibility, it would show you what went to patient responsibility. So I pretty much just explained to you the components of the explanation of benefits. You're going to see your procedure codes. You're going to see the amount that was billed, any reductions from the carrier, because as a participating provider, you are responsible for accepting the contractual amount because you contracted with the payer to accept a certain amount. Also, as I said, the control number or the claim control number, the subscriber's name and policy number. Okay. Some claim management techniques over on page 301. So you want to, when you're in an office and you're doing billing, you want to set up an insurance claim register. Now you can create this electronically if you're really good with Excel. And then a tickler file and aging reports. Now, so what's an insurance claims register? Can you tell me, Emily, what does it tell us an insurance claim register is?
Completed page claims.
Yes. So, when I am doing the back office work, which is the billing and coding work, on a daily basis, if checks come in the mail, explanation of benefits, they get date stamped. And I create what is called a daily bundle. And what goes in that daily bundle is anything and everything that happened in the practice for that day around patient care that is financially related. Okay? So if there's super bills or travel bills, whatever's being used, credit card slips, my end of day report, copies of my patient checks, and a copy of the insurance checks, plus the explanation of benefits. So that if I ever had to recreate a day in my software, everything would be done. Okay, so that's what it means by an insurance claims register. You can do it that way. Some people have actually done it by payer, where all of Anthem is together, all of Aetna is together, and it's filed chronologically. What I find is more cumbersome with that is I have to sit there with, umpteen different folders to figure out what was entered when, instead of just having it all in one folder. And it's literally all in one folder, or an elastic band is wrapped around it. So I know who paid by credit card, who paid by check. I have my credit card batch out report. I have my end of day transaction report. I know that my deposit has been proofed. Everything has been, checked and initialed by 3 different people because I'm the last one to get it. So I know who didn't do the steps getting to me. If I find something wrong, I go back to so-and-so and say, okay, you transposed this number here, this really was the deposit, just little stuff like that. But when you're doing that type of work, it's good to have multiple eyes on the work. So that's why I say, have your front desk do the demographics, get the charges in, collect the money, do the end of day report, proof the deposit, put it all together. Then have your back office do the review of the day and just make sure everything comes together and you understand what's going on. A tickler file can be any number of things. You can use a tickler file for following up on denied claims. So if in that daily bundle I'm posting my checks and I come across a denied claim for a patient, I will make a copy of that remit. Now, remember I said date stamp? I date stamp every page, front and back, so that I know what date it belonged to. I make a copy of it, I highlight it or circle the denied claim. I am able to then use that copy to write my notes on when I make a phone call. I might even just use a separate call log or communication log to make my notes of who I spoke to, when I spoke to them, get a reference number. And then if they say, well, follow up in a week or 3 weeks, I then take that copy and my notes and I put it in my tickler file for 3 weeks out. So that every day I am constantly working my tickler file. It might be as simple as calling on someone's insurance or calling to see that the workers' comp claim went through. Whatever denials or rejections you have, use the tickler file system to do it. Now, some people can do it on the computer. You will find that there are practice management systems out there that have activity managers or task managers built in them, where you simply go in, you create the tickler right in the program, and that way you bring it up every day and you see, okay, this is what I have to do. So it's very similar to the paper tickler. It just depends where do you want to keep it, how do you want to keep it. Aging reports. Aging reports are run on a monthly basis. And with the aging report, you really want to work it. I want to say for an accounts receivable that is $100,000 plus, you want to be calling on your accounts receivable claims 4 to 6 hours a week. You want to be spending 4 to 6 hours a week on an accounts receivable that totals $100,000 plus. Now I know that sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. And following up on AR can actually be a full-time job if you don't keep a handle on it. So you almost end up having to hire someone just to follow up on AR if you let it get out of hand. And so what do I mean by that? It means, as I've been talking to you from the very beginning, that you and your front desk are communicating, or you have a system in place where you are collecting that information from the beginning from the patient. So what's the insurance information? What do I need to know? What do I need to enter? Verifying the insurance. What are their benefits so I know what to collect every time? And then posting. How do I post the insurance payment when it comes in? Do I still need to send the patient a bill? Do I need to call on a denial? What I usually do with aging reports is I will work a payer every week. So the first week of the month I might work on, say, Anthem and Aetna. And the second week of the month it might be all of the other payers. And then the third week, all my personal injuries, and the fourth week, all my work comp. So by the time I come around, there should be something coming through every few weeks based on my phone calls. And then once you have it resolved, you go in, you move it from the tickler file to the resolved folder, or in your EHR, you can mark it completed. All right, so insurance company payment history. On page, 303? Insurance company payment history. First of all, you want to start with a binder with all of your insurance companies' names and regional office addresses. And then what you want to do is sort it or tab it to the claim filing procedures and the payment policies directly related to those payers. What will be in those policies are the time limits for the claims and the payments, the dollar amount for the procedural codes, and then patient names and policy and group numbers is what you will get from the patients when they come in. So what we're doing to create this company payment history is we're basically going to look at, okay, Emily, you might have Anthem, but it's by a different group. And Teresa, you might have Anthem, but it's a different group. And I have Anthem, and it's a different group. So in this binder, we're going to create a section for each group so that we know, Emily, your plan has a $5,000 deductible with full coverage after you meet that. And Teresa, your group has a $25 office visit copay with 40 visits, and then 15% coinsurance for the life of up to those visits. And then I have a plan where I have a $500 deductible with a $25 office visit copay, and then a 10% coinsurance up to a $1,500 max with 40 visits. Get where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
You want to know the different payers and what they are paying. So you are basically creating a history or a way to track what group is paying what. What is their plan? What is their policy? What are their benefits? And how do you keep track of that? And the easiest way is to create that binder so that when someone comes in with this group number on their card, you can go to your binder real quick and see, oh yeah, this is the plan. And then you have a verification form already pretty much pre-filled out with some of that information, and you can call and just confirm the information. Now within those groups you might have different options, so then that's where you, what I call drill it down a little more, and you go a step further and say, okay, well in this group I have these two options. I have a standard and I have a high. Under the high option, what's covered under there? Under the standard option, what's covered under there? So you can actually make your job as in the billing department pretty seamless, pretty efficient by creating all of this stuff for yourself, okay? And knowing what their payment history is. This is a helpful tool if you ever get the chance or the opportunity to do that, okay? Any, what I call SOP, Standard Operating Procedure Manual, you can create for yourself to help you do your job is going to make it that much easier in the long run. So if you end up somewhere that doesn't have one, just create one for yourself. It's definitely beneficial. All right. Have I lost anyone yet?
No, to create a manual though, you can almost do one now and just look up all of the groups and everything on the, as much as you can.
Right.
Online.
Right. Exactly. Maine Community Health Options has a really awesome website. I don't know if you've been on it, but they show you right on their website their plans, their tiered, the different tiers that they are, and what's covered underneath one.
I'm sorry,
Maine Community Health Options. Most of you payers, you can go right online, especially if you have an account, and see what the different plans are. No one sleeping yet? Okay, good. This is about the time I start losing everyone. All right, claim inquiries. So when do we make claim inquiries? On page 304. Claim inquiries usually is when we don't have a response for 45 days. Or maybe when payment was not received within the contractual time limit. These are all different reasons why we would call on a claim inquiry. Incorrect payment was received. The amount allowed and the patient's responsibility are not defined. Payment received for an incorrect patient. The EOB or the remittance advice shows a changed code. The EOB shows a disallowed service that was a benefit. Claims needing revision or resubmission. The EOB has an error or payment was made out to the wrong physician. When you're doing the billing and the posting, you will see as you go through every patient account as you're posting, it lists all the dates of service. So as you're posting, you can see if there's anyone that's missing, that hasn't been paid. So I know on any given day when I'm posting, let's say for Joe Smith, I'm posting some dates of service for September, but as I'm scrolling through his history, I see that something back in June still hasn't been paid. So I usually have a notepad beside me as I'm posting, and I'll jot down the name of the patient, the date of service, the payer, because I don't want to have to go back and look it up, and I'll make a note to myself to call on Joe Smith for a date of service in June and find out why that hasn't been paid yet. Now before I do that, I'm going to make sure, first of all, the claim did go out the door, make sure I didn't get a rejection in the clearinghouse, and then call the insurance to find out if someone's still sitting on it. Okay, so payment not received or no response within 45 days. Another good one is, and this is awful, where the insurance company had the wrong address. They sent it to the wrong address. The wrong address didn't bother to forward it to the provider because they knew the provider. And so, believe it or not, I'm following up on some claims right now that are over a year old. And it's all because the payer had the wrong address. They sent the checks to that address. The checks have not been cashed. But that address could have sent them on to the payer, the provider. They know the provider. They didn't. And so now the address has been corrected in the payer's system. And we will be getting new checks for those past services because they can't hold on to the money. If you call back to claim it, they'll give it to you, but you have to have specific information like the patient that you're calling on, and you find out. So I've been working on this particular issue now for a couple weeks and found that there's thousands of dollars that have not been paid to this provider because of an incorrect address. Just an incorrect address. And it was all because the billing service who took over didn't make sure that there was a correct address in the system for the provider. So I don't even know how far back this goes, but I'm telling you that right now I've been able to go back over a year and get payment resent to this provider for services that have just been sitting on the books. And it's a lot. As I said earlier, you can have a job just doing accounts receivable, honestly. If you like doing that kind of stuff, you could do just that. There's places that would need it. Actually, hospitals probably need it big time. So those types of things, and those sadly are the types of things that fall through the cracks because if someone ends up being the single staff person in the office, it's real easy to slip that remit aside and say, I'll get back to it, and keep adding to the pile and adding to the pile and adding to the pile until timely filing is gone by or resubmission is gone by, and then you're out with that money. So it's a benefit to us to really try and get that money in the door. Problem paper and electronic claims. Well, delinquent claims, which is payment is overdue, basically what I was just talking about. Pending or suspended claims, there was non-payment that was caused by an error or the need for additional information. Sometimes, a lot of times you would see suspended or pending claims because they're waiting for doctor's notes. There's this one insurance company that I love so much that constantly sends a remit that says we have been waiting for information from the provider, and because we have not received it yet, this claim has been closed until we hear from him. Well, I can tell you they haven't requested anything from the provider. Nothing. Lost claims, if you don't have a stamped acknowledgement that a claim is received with an assigned claim number, that can be a problem. That's considered lost claim. Rejected claims. Rejected claims can be for any given reason. Rejected and denied claims, I'm not sure why we refer to them either way. Usually date of birth, incorrect spelling of a name, believe it or not, missing an initial in the, the middle initial missing. If your name is not entered into the system the way it is on your insurance card, that can cause a reject or a denial. If there's a missing modifier, downcoding, all kinds of different things come into mind for problems. What would we do for preventing denied claims? So preventing denied claims.
Identify the source of the claim process.
Say that again?
Identify the source of the errors within the medical office.
Yeah. So some of the things that we actually can do is, as I have said from the beginning of this class, is to verify the insurance coverage at the first visit. That is probably one of the biggest things that you can do to prevent a denied claim. Make sure the demographic information is current at each visit. Now obviously if you're seeing someone 2 to 3 times a week, you don't have to check it every time. But if you haven't seen them in 6 months or longer, you probably want to confirm that their demographics has not changed. With the majority of claims, you do not have to submit progress notes and for regular, primary care visits, chiropractic visits. But if you are submitting for procedures that require notes or you've had tests done, then you want to make sure those notes get sent with the claims. You might even submit a letter from the prescribing physician documenting the necessity when there's ambulance transportation. You also want to clarify the type of service when you're doing the claims and make sure you're using modifiers to further describe and identify the exact service that was rendered. And we will get into more detail about modifiers later on. Also, to prevent denied claims, keep on top of the latest policies for Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, reading your local newsletters that you can get them email. They don't do as many by mail anymore. Make sure you get the current manuals for all of the contracted payers. You can get these right online. On page 313, appeals, filing appeals. Actually, go to 314 and 315. On 314, you'll see a claim correction form. That's a lot of detail. You don't find as many forms in that much detail now. They're more succinct. They're not as involved. So when you're filing appeals, what you want to do, what are some of the first few reasons for filing an appeal, Emily?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
What are some of the reasons for filing an appeal? What's one? Just give me one.
I have no idea. I'm trying to find.
It's okay. Over on page 313, review and appeal process. So, first thing you want to do is assemble all the documents. And then we want to make sure that we remain courteous at all times when we're calling people that we want to have an appeal done with. Then we want to obtain the name and extension number of the insurance claim rep. We want to listen carefully, jot down the date. So very similar to what I was mentioning earlier when we do our denials. Okay, identify the reasons for rebilling a claim. Describe the situation for filing appeals, name Medicare's 5 levels in redetermination process. I'm not going to go over those 5 levels. We'll get into that more later. And then determine what forms need to be used for review and determination. Every payer has a different form for review and determination. Some actually have 3 different levels. You have the base level, which is called the reconsideration for this date of service. Then they have a level 1 appeal and a level 2 appeal. You'll notice with Medicare, as you continue to turn the pages, that there are actually 5 levels. They also have forms where you can appoint a representative. So you, the patient, can appoint a representative from the office to handle your claim issue for you. TRICARE, over on page 321, they have 3 levels of review. Make sure you do not rebill a payer without investigating why the claim is still outstanding. Do not just correct a claim and submit it just because it's not paid, okay? Make sure your patient bills go out monthly. When you file an appeal, make sure you send an explanatory letter. You can also reference any resource book that you're using. You can also include similar cases. Let's turn to page 324. The commission objectives. The commission objectives, basically, they're to make certain that the financial strength of the insurance companies is not unduly diminished. They want to monitor the activities of the insurance companies to make sure all of the interests of the policyholders are protected. They want to verify that all contracts are carried out in good faith, and they want to make sure that all organizations authorized to transact the insurance, including the agents and the brokers, are in compliance with the insurance laws of the state. They also will release information on how many complaints have been filed against a specific insurance company in a year. They also help explain correspondence that's related to insurance company bankruptcies and other financial difficulties. They also assist if a company funds its own insurance plan, and they help resolve insurance conflicts. Some of the types of problems that they might help with is improper denial or underpayment, delay in claim settling, illegal cancellations of policies, misrepresentation, misappropriation of premiums, so on and so forth. So if you have a commission inquiry, you want to make sure that you have the patient's name, address, and phone number. Who is the insured's name? Who is the insured's agent? What is the complaint? Make sure the patient signs and dates it. Make sure you know who the insurance company is, the policy and claim number, and the date of the loss. So this is pretty much, when I talk about a inquiry, that's date of the loss can be in reference to a personal injury, a work comp claim. Date of a loss would not necessarily be related to something like medical treatment or chiropractic care or ear, nose, and throat, stuff like that. You can still have complaints, but just have all of the information. And that's it for chapter 9. Any questions? We're going to take a quick break right here. Take about 5 minutes. All right, everyone back. No, we'll wait for Angela.
What are 9 through 11 tonight?
I don't know. That would be nice. Okay. So, chapter 10, office and insurance collection strategies. So, Angel, how do you think we should collect money in the office?
At the beginning of the process, when you get the insurance and stuff,
Yes.
like the copay.
Yes. So, I think I've actually covered some of chapter 10 already because it's about accounts receivable basics. And, you know, the patient education, the patient registration form, you know, what is the fee schedule, page, 334? Is that correct, 334? Describing missed appointments, do we charge for missed appointments? Are there any fee adjustments, or any discounted fees, cash discounts? Financial hardships. So let's talk about discounted fees and cash discounts, all right? Because you're really not supposed to give a cash discount. Because your fee is your fee is your fee is your fee. I cannot offer Emily $45 because she has really great insurance and she has a $20 copay, and then turn around and offer Teresa $25 because she doesn't have insurance and my cash price is $25. I can't do that. They both get $45, okay? So I charge you $45 and I charge you $45. Now, the time of service discount or cash fee is what you're supposed to pay me at time of service to get that discount. So as long as you have a policy in place that indicates you have a time of service discount, and that is exactly what it is, time of service discount. I feel like the furniture guy's here, sorry. Time of service discount has to be done at time of service. So if you can't pay me when you come in at time of service, because you couldn't pay me at time of service, you're going to be charged that full $45. Get it? No cash discount if you don't pay at time of service. The insurance companies don't want to come in and audit your books and find out that because you have a $45 fee and you're only making these people pay it and these people pay. They're going to say, well, you know, I only have to pay you the lowest fee of whatever you have your patients paying. And if that happens to be less than our reasonable and customary, then that's all we have to pay you.
Now, is that different with a hospital? A hospital can actually do a cash discount?
It would be different with a hospital.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just going to say, they offer some good discounts if you pay within 30 days.
I'm sure they do.
that she had talked to the insurance company and it was less than what the card said. So every single time I went to the doctors, I would argue with the receptionist basically and have to go through that. Was that my mom's the right thing, or was that
Well, if you look on your card, it tells you
the amount?
different copay amounts for different
Yeah, it had them all
specialties.
listed.
So if you were going to your PCP, it probably was only $20. If you were going to a specialist, it was probably $30 or $40. Now, your mom was probably right, and the person at the front desk was probably wrong because she probably didn't call on your insurance to find out what
she
it
was
was.
just going off of what the card was.
That's
That was
right.
Okay, so I didn't know if that was just my mom.
No, sometimes moms are really awesome.
Yeah, 'cause she would get so mad at me if I would pay that. It's only like $5 difference. but
I
she
know,
always
but
said,
$5 is $5.
adds up. But yeah, she was paying for it too at the
Yes.
time.
Yes. I have an agreement with my daughters. You pay half, I'll pay half. So, yes, probably the front desk just didn't call the insurance company to verify what your
Yeah.
copay was. Hardship agreements, financial hardship agreements. Those are actually a pain in the tuchus. Because you can't just write up a hardship agreement and say, here you go, Mary. I understand you're having a hardship, or you're in hardship times, and we'll agree to see you, and blah, blah, blah. You can't do that. A hardship agreement, a financial hardship, actually has to follow DHHS poverty guidelines. Okay? And you have to have a policy and procedure in place in your practice that says, this is how we handle financial hardships. The patient has to bring in 2 to 3 years of tax returns. They have to bring in a pay stub. They have to fill out this income and expense form so that you can legally determine, yes, they require a hardship agreement. And then the hardship agreement is only for a term, a period. It's not forever. You can tell I'm tired when I'm using my hands a lot. So, yes. So financial hardships, don't encourage them if you don't have to. They're really worth them. They're a lot of money. Writing off or a courtesy adjustment. Well, the write-off should only be because it's what the insurance isn't covered and it's your contractual agreement that you agreed to adjust off or write off that difference. Courtesies, professional courtesies, again, you need to have policies and procedures set in place in your practice. Co-payment waiver, that is considered fraud and abuse because you are not supposed to just waive the copay. Okay? If you have a contract with the payer, you are obligated to collect that copay. A no charge means waiving the entire fee for professional care. Don't ever tell me you're doing that. When I hear some of these things when I go into an office, I just go, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to hear it. I really don't want to hear it. Because if I don't know about it, then I can't attest to anything. Reduced fee, same thing. Cannot just give a reduced fee just because you feel like it. How do we communicate fees? Emily, how do you think you're going to communicate a fee to me? I'm coming into your office. What is my new patient exam fee going to be?
Do you want the guidelines?
No, I want you to tell me how you would handle it.
How I would tell you what your fee is?
Yes.
Be polite.
Okay. Yes.
Say it without
without being mean, yes. How would you do it, Teresa?
Well, well, it says here to be, have a business-like manner, professionalism, but a strong voice as well. So,
Okay, so this is how I do it when you call into an office. Hello, this is Doreen from Dr. Smith's office. How may I help you today? Oh, so you want to be a new patient. You haven't seen the doctor before. All right, well, our new patient fee is $100, and that will be cash, check, or credit card up front if you're a cash patient. If you have insurance, we will be happy to, as a courtesy, bill your insurance. Please bring your insurance card and expect to to pay your copay at the time of service. And then I ask them for their insurance card information so that I can then verify their insurance as a courtesy to them, always as a courtesy, yes. So that I will know what to collect from you and you will then know what to expect when you come in. I encourage the patient to call for their benefits ahead of time. I tell them to ask for chiropractic benefits specifically because, as you all know, insurances cover chiropractic differently than they do primary care or ear, nose, and throat or OBGYN, okay? So they know upfront, these are our fees. Each visit afterwards, this is how much it is. And I ask up front, are you a cash patient or do you have insurance that will contribute to your care? And then I can go into the, the scripting of cash versus insurance. But you need to say it with confidence, say it with politeness and a beautiful smile on your face, and just verify the information with them so that you can then call their insurance and verify what it is. Always make it easy for the patient, okay? I'm here, I'm doing this as a courtesy to you so that you know what your benefits are before you walk through the door. But don't let them leave without paying a bill, okay? So that's the other reason. If you know that they have a $25 office visit copay when they first come in, you make sure you're getting that $25 when they leave the office, okay? Pay at time of service. And we accept cash, check, and credit cards. And you say it with a smile. And then if they don't have anything on them, well, you know what? When you get home, call me with your credit card information, and I'll be happy to run that through for you.
my vet does that.
I just made a new patient appointment the other day. They didn't say any of that, any of it.
But the vet does this.
Yeah, they verified my information, but that was it. They didn't tell me anything about a copayment, asked me if I was cash or...
No, they don't do that. Financial plan management. There are some places that offer financial plans. Demand letter for return check. I basically will, if I get a non-sufficient fund check, I will put a note in the account. I will, add the charge to the account, and I will send a notice. I will send actually a statement to the patient that says, please see attached copy of your return check. This is what is due in our office. Please remit as soon as possible. I don't even bother doing a demand letter. If it's a patient who we see on a regular basis, I'll make sure I send them an invoice or a statement and let the front desk know so-and-so is coming in on this date. And our system allows us to put alerts in. So when the patients check in, we have an alert that says anything we put in, which is really cool.
Do you charge them for non-sufficient funds?
Oh, absolutely. I charge them the non-sufficient fund fee. Itemized patient statements. You will find, what works for you, and hopefully you can find a template that you can work with, because it's really important to have the date of service, a charged amount, what did the insurance pay, what did you write off, and what is the patient responsibility. That is really good to show the patients. They have in there the collection decision tree on page 346. I'm not going to go through that with you. Payment options, we've already talked about those a little bit. Credit card, debit cards, e-checks, payment plans. Credit and collection laws. There is the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, fair and accurate credit transactions, and so on. There's several of them. There is a statute of limitations on page 350. Your regulation or law setting time limit on legal action. There is actually maximum time that legal collection may be rendered against a debtor. These will vary according to the three kinds of accounts. Is it an open book account, a written contract account, or a single entry account? When you are collecting, make sure you communicate by phone first, then you can submit a written letter. You can even go to collection agencies or billing services. Telephone collection don'ts. Over on page 354. Do not raise your voice. Do not accuse the patient of lying. Don't act tough. Don't consent to partial payment. Don't debate. And don't report disputed accounts to a collection agency or bureau. Usually when you report them to a collection agency, you're paying more, well, depending on the collection agency. Collection agencies around that I know take half of what they collect. So if a patient pays $10 on their account, they take $5, you get $5. And then they charge an activity fee. So you have to really look at the amounts of the balances and see if they're really worth going after. Usually, you just put a note in the system that says, patient cannot be seen until previous balance is taken care of. They go on to show you different types of letters, insurance collection. They talk about insurance collection, talk about history of the accounts for co-insurance payments. We touched upon that earlier. There's not a whole lot more going into those. Collection agencies, when to use them, how to choose one. Small claims court. You can actually do a small claims yourself. You just get the paperwork from the court, you obtain the information, you pay the filing fee, and you arrange to serve the defendant, and then you set the trial date. And then basically, you go to court with all of your documentation, and more often than not, you can pretty much get what you're looking for. It just depends if you have everything to back you up. And that's all I'm going to cover in chapter 9. Any questions? Was that chapter 10?
Chapter 10, yes.
Sorry, that was chapter 10. All right, let's move into chapter 11. Chapter 11 is the blue plans, private insurance, and your managed care plans. And we've already to talk about some of this stuff. So what is the difference between a traditional plan and a managed care plan, Lisa?
Managed care. I really don't know.
What do you think, Angel? How about you, Emily?
Okay, I have to ask, what was it again? Managed care.
What's the difference between a traditional insurance plan and a managed care plan?
Managed care. Managed care.
I know.
Managed care is an HMO, health maintenance organization. All right. Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Blue Cross and Blue Shield. On page 377, Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Tell me a little bit about Blue Cross and Blue Shield on page 377, Teresa.
Oops, I read my book.
Private insurance company with non-profit status. It's the largest insurance company in the US.
Okay. It is the largest company in the U.S. We'll see you next week, Angel.
Yeah, and you said you'll send, email the assignment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Your prepaid group practice health plans on page 378. The pioneers were the Ross Luce Medical Group. They became Cigna. And then there's Kaiser Permanente. Health Maintenance Organization Act of 1973. Over on page 379, top right-hand column, Health Maintenance Organization Act of 1973. Authority for federal government to assist HMO development. What it did was it provided grants and loans and loan guarantees to offset the initial operating deficits of new HMOs that met federal standards. What it did was it required that most employers offer HMO to employees as an alternative to the traditional insurance plans. Your HMOs are the prepaid group practice model. There's also a staff model, a network HMO, and a direct contract model. Some of the features of your HMOs, your exclusive provider organizations, over on page 381. Exclusive provider organizations, they have features that are similar with the HMO. The members must choose care from the network providers, emergency exceptions. There's generally no reimbursement for out-of-network care, and it's regulated under the insurance statutes. The features that are similar to a PPO is the enrolled population, the limited provider panel, the gatekeepers, utilization management, capitated provider reimbursement, and authorization system. Your HMOs actually have a gatekeeper, and your primary care physician is the gatekeeper. They're the ones that say, you can go to this specialist, that specialist. They have to refer you to your specialist. Also, the few other features, negotiated fees and fee-for-service payments.
Do you think there's more people getting out of HMO?
I do. I do indeed. Your independent practice organizations, on page 381, these are physicians that are not employees and they do not receive salaries. They have a capitation or a fee-for-service program. Your preferred provider organization, this is another type of managed care plan, but you have the freedom to use any physician or hospital. The members actually receive the highest level of benefits when they use preferred providers, and they have a co-insurance and deductibles. On 382, your silent preferred provider organizations are also called blind or phantom PPOs. They offer the discounted indemnity plans, non-directed PPOs, or wraparound PPOs. They have provider income reduced, and it complicates the appeal process. There's not that many of these out there, not that I've seen. Your physician provider groups, they're physician owned. They have joint ventures with the hospitals and labs, and they can combine services for member physicians, cutting business costs usually. Your point of service plans, these are HMO cost managements with PPO freedom of choice. The members actually choose services from participating and non-participating providers with different benefit levels. And you can see over on page 383, they talk about types of managed care organizations and their characteristics. Your triple option health plans are those that members can choose from HMOs, PPOs, or traditional indemnity insurance. The members can actually change their plans, and they have cost containment measures. Over on page 384, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act. What this does is it regulates all managed care insurance that's paid by the employer or supplemented by the employee. So usually 85% of the claims that are non-Medicare, Medicaid, and workers' comp. It's also regulated by the Department of Labor, and any case that is related to employee benefits falls under federal jurisdiction. Your medical review and management plans, they deal a lot with your quality improvement, referrals for medical services, creating managed care plans, payment mechanisms. You go through quite a bit with the medical review and the management plans. With your quality improvement organization, you have peer review and a utilization review. Underneath the utilization review, you'll see that there's churning, turfing, and buffing. And what is churning, Emily?
When a physician sees a patient more than medically necessary, thus increasing revenue for an increased number of services.
Yes, patient being seen more than medically necessary. What is turfing, Teresa?
It's a term used when the sickest, high-cost patients are transferred to other physicians so that the provider appears to be a low utilizer.
And what is buffing, Lisa?
Making the practice justifiable to the plan. I can't even see, I'm really sorry.
Okay. All right. Management of plans. You have contracts and carve-outs. The carve-outs are where medical services are not included in the contract benefits, and they're usually paid on a fee-for-service basis. Your plan administration, the patient gets an information letter. Then there's medical records, there's scheduling appointments, and encounter forms. You also might see pre-authorization or prior approval on page 387. You might need a formal referral, a direct referral, a verbal referral, or a self-referral. You just need to know what is your managed care plan and what's expected. The financial management, I've already touched upon that. This is the payment. This is the deductibles, co-pays, your payment mechanisms, the contract payment time limits, monitoring the payment. All right, the statement of remittance, the accounting, the fee for service. All of that stuff I've already mentioned. Then you have year-end evaluation. What are our withholdings and what is the capitation versus the fee for service? So what we do at the year end is we look at all of our accounts and we see how much we had to withhold because we had contractual obligations, or how many capitation accounts did we have versus fee for service. There's not that many capitation accounts out there, or capitation plans out there anymore either. I think I've seen one in the past 20 years that I've been doing this. So they're not that many. Any questions 9 through 11? Lisa?
Nope.
Okay. Emily? Nothing? Okay. Teresa?
I'm all set.
All right. Let's go over some homework. Pull out your workbook, page 159. All right, let's do page 161. Um, 163 multiple choice. And 164 true and false. $185, fill in the blank. $186, part 2, mix and match. And all of 187. On page 215, fill in the blank. Page 216, all of it. And I would like you to do the assignment 11-2, that is to obtain authorization for a consultation from a managed care plan. It's 217, and I want you to time yourself. And you will use, I believe, pages 219 and 221 to help you complete that information. All right, and as I said earlier, there's nothing on Evolve right now I want you to be doing. If I gave you access to Evolve, it's only to the Fordneys. It's not to the Buck Book. I will be creating some Fordney exams, but they will only be 10 to 20 questions each, and I will have you doing them in conjunction with the Buck Book when we start the Buck Book. So over the next, so we've got 2 weeks to finish this book. So in the next 2 weeks, I gave you your homework. For the next 2 weeks, let's see, we've got 12. All right, so let's do 12, 13, and 14 for next week. Read 12, 13, and 14. And then you have the exercises that we just went over tonight. We'll review those again in the beginning. And as I said, in the next few weeks, we should be getting the rest of our books. So please, as soon as you get them, let me know. I can't remember if I'm forgetting anything. Okay. So, Lisa, what do you
Yes.
take away from tonight's class?
I learned a little bit more about the insurance billing process. I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of do's and don'ts.
There is. There is. How about you, Emily? Speak up.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, Teresa.
International Classification of Disease, 10th revision, clinical law.
I couldn't believe I didn't know
And
that.
that if you don't do your homework, you're just out of the law at work.
But you see how going over it again, though, helps to solidify or, you know, make solid some of what you've read. Okay? Because even though we're going over the answers, I'm trying to bring into it some, you know, the life experience type of stuff, so it's not just an answer to a question.
I get more out of you physically being here too. I don't like that.
I know.
I know it's hard for everybody, but we both said it last week.
Wasn't the same, was it?
It wasn't the same, especially as to how my answers, and we were kind of answering, but not.
Yeah, I heard you.
But
I saw you.
See, I like it like this because my top half is dressed and my bottom half is in my pajamas. It's funny.
Your picture's been frozen the whole class, so.
Yeah, that's a good time.
So Emily, what's your takeaway?
How much there is to it? Sure.
There
I
is.
didn't know.
But think about when you're done with this course, how much more you will be able to offer to an employer
Right.
because you're learning, you know, basically what I call the 2-for-1 deal, the 2-for-1 special. Okay, that's really why I wanted to teach billing and coding, because when I started what I do, there was really no way in heck that you can do what I do and not have a knowledge of both. You can do it, but what I'm seeing from the people doing it that way is large accounts receivable. Okay? So even if my front desk isn't knowledgeable in coding, I at least let them know, okay, I sit them down and basically I take this book and I cram it into a few hours, literally, because they need to know at the front desk, this is what you do. The patient calls, we have a phone script, this is what you say to them when they call in the phone. This is the information that you get. So we have a new patient form. And then this is what you do with the information once they bring it in. This is where you enter it in a system. I've created so many office manuals, I can do it in my sleep. That's why I can teach this course, because this for me is just something for you guys to follow along. I just use it so I make sure I'm touching upon all the points. Basically, it's all up here, okay? So you really, to be a really solid, efficient biller, coder person, need to understand what you're doing at the front to be able to make it happen in the back. And knowing the codes is just an added benefit to that, because then you know that for Medicare, they only cover these diagnosis codes, and they only cover them for 12 visits or 24 visits. And make sure that the diagnosis codes are in a certain order. And they only cover certain CPT codes, and you have to have these modifiers, okay? So if my front desk understands, this is what I need, step by step by step, that way when I get it in the back office, I can look and see, did they do what I needed? Because then I can bill it out clean. But if I don't communicate to them, this is why we need what we need. This is why if you miss this, it causes more work for me back here, and it mucks it all up. So not only, okay, I can give you another really good example today. Covering in an office for the next several weeks, and I was covering the front desk, and the patient comes in, and in the computer they're marked as cash. And so I was asking the patient, what would you like to put on your account today? And she says to me, well, hasn't my insurance paid anything? I said, well, give me a moment, let me take a look. Not even letting her know that in the back of my mind, I just want to commit hara-kiri, okay? So I took a moment, I looked through her account, and sure enough, there was an insurance card that had been scanned into her records. It had never been verified. And we've been seeing this patient since June.
So what happens?
So
She comes in.
I just, well, because I'm the billing manager, I just said to her, you know what, I'll call on that today for you. I didn't even say, we don't have insurance in here on you, nothing. I just kind of played it cool and said, okay, I'll call the insurance on this today. And so I printed off a copy of the insurance card so that I could give it to my staff person to call on. So then my staff person comes to me later and says, da, 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 da. And I said, no, you need to call on it now so we know what the benefits are. So I went in, I put the insurance in the computer, and I turned around and I got it ready so that it will be billed when I go and send claims tomorrow. Okay, so that's a situation where we've had no response in 45 days, and I missed it because I wasn't posting anything to her account. And the front desk didn't bring it to my attention saying her balance is over this amount, which we have a limit. Mm-hmm. If there's any balance over a certain dollar amount, they're supposed to bring it to my attention. So this is where those things can fall through the cracks. You know, even I missed this account in my review of accounts. How I did that, I have no idea, but it happens. We're not perfect. But yes, there's a lot to it. But if you can create the system to make it work, and you communicate with your staff member or staff members to make it efficient, it can work. Everyone has a position, everyone has a responsibility to help with that. So in this particular office, that front desk is responsible for scheduling the appointments, communicating the new patient fees, getting the new patient paperwork. The assistant to the doctor is responsible for doing, her portion, as well as doing the insurance verifications. And then in turn, I'm supposed to get certain information so that on the back end, I'm reviewing the accounts, I'm posting the remits when they come in, and printing the statements to get sent out. So there's a cycle, and it's supposed to work. But someone missed it, and that kind of puts a binder in that whole cog that just kind of. Okay, so yes, there is a lot to it, but if you like doing this stuff, it can be fun. A little frustrating, overwhelming. I have stories I could share. It's not even funny, but I don't want to scare you. So, same time next week. Again, if I'm not here, please make sure the system's on. They were great and had it on already, so just answer it.
Yeah.
And that's it. If you guys are all set, that's it. Okay, Lisa?
Well, have a good week.
You too, thank you. All right, bye.